So this is Terry Chalky, and this is the beginning of Class 3 of Cascadia Holistic Peer Counseling. Hooray!
Hooray.
And today's class, which this was a brilliant example of, is called Our Emotional Experiences in Nature of Reality. Okay. Who would like to do what Alina did last week and just choose a bibliomancy opening and closing? Would you do that? Thank you so much, Sapphire.
But what is letting go? I think we don't understand it at all. You've got this idea of something trapped that we've got to set free. Like there's a bird in your hand, and what Zen is about is spreading your fingers and letting it fly away. Whoosh! I'm enlightened. But you are the bird. You and the bird are the same. You and your hand are the same. Nothing needs to be opened. Nothing needs to fly away. Realize this, and you've automatically let go.
Beautiful. And let's move from there into a nice grounding. And this week we're going to add centering to grounding. Okay? So, notice your breath. Notice your breath and begin to breathe more fully, more deeply. Bring your attention away from wherever it is, if it's not inside your body, and begin to come back and down into your body. Begin to become more present to your felt experience. Remember that your lungs move in at least three directions, in the front, the back, and the sides. Increase your exhale. Increase your inhale. Notice that your breath is a little cooler as it comes in your nose, and a little warmer, moister, as it exits. Fall back and down. Back and down. Bringing your consciousness into your body. Falling in love with your body. Bringing your attention and your awareness down and back into your body. Become aware of the opening at the base of your spine, the bottom of your body. Send down a cord of connection, a grounding cord. See your spinal column as a column of light, golden radiant light. If there's anything in the way of your chakras working exactly as you want them to, use your breath as if it is magic, or it is, to remove any blocks, or anything that doesn't feel just right. Keep falling down and back. So we're going to make an energetic connection between our very own physical bodies and the physical body of the earth by sending this grounding cord down through the building, through whatever we're sitting on, through the foundation of the building, and out into the dirt below our feet, below what we're sitting on and in. Immediately a sense of Continuing down and back, we're going to go through the rest of the crust of the earth. Feel that sense of aliveness there. Focusing on your exhaled breath, letting that be the little jet engine that moves your breath down more deeply, more securely into the earth and this living, palpable connection you have with her. Moving back and down now, going through the mantle of the earth. And continuing to breathe. Moving now through the lava and magma, and continuing to breathe, moving down into the iron magnetic core of the earth. And as we go through that layer, suddenly it opens into an immense space. We are in the middle of the earth, and it is very spacious. There are two things there: an eternally burning fire, the fire of life, the source of life, and an ancient ancestral being, who for me is Gaia. Let this be whatever works for you, and if this imagery and this instruction doesn't work for you, simply return to your breath and the felt experience of your body. But it is important that you allow yourself to have an experience of belonging and welcome, as if this ancient, loving being says to you, yes, you belong here, in this body, in this moment of time, on this planet. And let that be so. And once we get down and there's this connection and we have a sense of welcome and belonging, we are going to make 3 to 5 breaths that release anything that's keeping us from being completely relaxed and present. Just let it go. If you have any sickness or soreness or tiredness or irritation, just let it go. Just let that go. And now we're going to focus on our inhale instead of our exhale. And we're going to pull up a zestful, revitalizing life force that this brilliant goddess gives us, our lovely, divine, erotic life force. This golden green sap of life, zestful, relaxing energy. Pull it up from the center of the earth and feel it. Now come into that grounding cord in your body. And come up, up, up with every inhaled breath, filling you with delight, filling you with energy, filling you with health and well-being. Continually communicating that sense of welcome, belonging, connection, wholeness. This is what immanence feels like. And as you feel this coming into your body, return to a central core of light that travels near or along your spine or parallel to it. Imagine this beautiful core of energy inside of you, a middle pillar, if you will. And then see also, now that we're grounded, we're going to become centered. One of the ways to do that is to imagine a golden sun above your head. Imagine that there's a golden sun, and it has rays going out in all directions. Those rays are your daily activities, plants and animals and beings and lovers and beloveds and friends that you're connected with, all the activities and things that you do every day. So imagine that rays that are your life force, that go out from you every day, are coming back in. Pull them back into the center of the sun so that the globe, the sphere, the circle that is the sun with its golden light becomes brighter, for you're pulling all of the energy that you use every day to attend to other things outside of you into your own golden core, into your own divine self, sitting there in that golden sphere above your head. And it's fine, just want you to know it's fine to disconnect from everything but yourself right now. In this moment, you just get to be right with yourself and not with anyone else. And then see that golden sphere with its rays pulled in so that the spheres become quite potent and radiant. See it fall into your body at the top of that tube of light, filling that central core, that pillar, with golden light. And just be with that sense of being centered in yourself, having gathered all of your life force together and having it reserved for a few moments just for yourself. And notice if this is easy or difficult. If the idea of keeping all of your energy for you is working for you, or if it's difficult. Just make a little note to maybe counsel on that information later on. Okay. Open your eyes if you would. Come back to the room. This is what it's like to be centered and also aware of other people. Anybody notice a difference in their energy from doing that exercise? So these things are all invisible, but palpable, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And so they prepare you for exploring the felt experience of your own body. Because in the same way as we can have a visualization and think, what gives us the capacity to do that, that consciousness, that mind sight ability, also gives us the ability to scan our viscera, our organs, and to look for where in our bodies we have somaticized our distress patterns and recordings, our incomplete feeling states. It is on Module 3 for you as a handout. You can print it, a copy of it for yourself if you want. I found that it was very helpful for me to have a blank journal that I just did my report backs in. If you do a little report back for yourself right after the session, it'll be a lot easier for you to remember. Frequently I found like, oh, right, what happened? I couldn't remember. Because the control patterns, there's a really funny old joke about control patterns. You know, they're so powerful. They have a couple of qualities that are really important. And one is they keep you from remembering your distress patterns. You're running them automatically and you just don't remember them. And the second thing is, I forget. Michael.
Okay.
How are you an effective counselor or listener in this week's session?
I try to get out of the way, basically.
Beautiful.
Yeah. How will I be a more effective counselor in the next session? Mm-hmm. I will hopefully know more and apply those things that I will know. How was my partner an effective counselor for me? She really was very effective at getting out of my way, and I could hear that she was listening, and it was very good. How would I like my partner to be more effective in future sessions? I can hardly even imagine how that would be. It was just great. How did my environment, the place I counseled in, etc., affect the session? It was in the place where I live and work, so it was very familiar, so no distractions. How might the environment, the time of the meeting, etc., be altered in order for you to have a better session in the future? Maybe like other times when it's possible to do on a weekend, or maybe later in the evening. No, weekends I think are probably really optimal, but still it was just fine the way it came out.
Awesome. And Sam, will you answer the questions?
I was an effective counselor or listener by sending loving attention even over the phone, even though he wasn't physically there with me. I made sure that I was listening from a heart-centered place and not trying to solve or project things, just listening. And shared his joy. I mean, I don't know if that's not a good counseling thing, but I felt like I was like, it's like, yeah, one of the things that were positive for him. I was like, yeah, that's great. I was really proud of him. So how will I be more effective in the next session? I think I was cheating because I was stirring dal that I was cooking. So I was cooking a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it's probably not the best thing to do. Probably just sit.
You're right. Giving undivided attention, not driving, things like that I'm guilty of.
I should have just turned it off.
Yeah.
It wasn't like spicing or anything complicated. I was stirring, but How was my partner effective? I also just felt like he was really focused and present. How would I like him to be more effective in future sessions? I mean, for this first one of passive counseling, he was just perfect. I look forward to learning more skills and where we're all going to get more active.
Yeah.
How did my environment affect my session? Well, I had things on my stove, so that was
Awesome. Good to notice that.
that's it.
Okay, and who counseled on Saturday or Sunday?
I was an effective counselor or listener in this week's session. I think by staying focused, even though I felt prior to our session, I felt pretty distracted.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Stay focused. How I'd be a more effective counselor in the next session, I think, is being able to be aware of how I'm emotionally affected by what I'm hearing and not think about that so much. Just continue to listen and kind of let that pass through. How is my partner an effective counselor for me? I liked that he was also very focused on me, but also had a word here and there, just words that were just letting him know I was listening and not interrupting or taking it anywhere, just being there for me verbally as well. And how would I like my partner to be more effective in the future sessions? That is a hard one. I can't think of anything that I'd want different today, right now.
Okay, great.
And in the environment, the place that we counseled, how did it affect our session? We were in a Starbucks in a Fred Meyer, like a cafe, and so it was kind of loud, but we could hear each other. I think I would have liked to have been somewhere maybe a little bit more private, just in case if there were any kind of emotional.
Yeah, just for the record, that's not a good place to counsel. You really need to be in a private place because you won't be able to cathartic. Like for the beginning 15-minute thing, okay, but it would actually be better to be in a car in a parking lot with the windows rolled up than to be in a public cafe because that's going to inhibit your ability to cathartic and have feelings. So, for a short, if all you got is 15 minutes and that's the only environment you have, do it because it's better than not doing it. And I have counseled in some very strange places quite effectively, but it's an advanced thing. And mostly, public places totally inhibit our sense of being able to have feelings, right? I mean, it's just like, But we're doing the best that we can with what we got in the very beginning, and so this is probably something you weren't super aware of, and so it's good to notice that, okay? Mark, do you want to report?
Yeah, I tried to basically hold space with loving attention. Tried to, stay out, as Michael said, stay out of the way of the conversation, essentially, and just try to kind of absorb all the feelings, and yet at the same time kind of monitor my own feeling state to make sure that I wasn't somehow getting sunk while I was listening. How can I be a more effective counselor? Well, I think as we go through the material more, I'm looking forward to bringing kind of more of the tool set to bear in conversation. How's my partner effective counselor? I felt like Brina held really good space for me. I think, I kind of went all over the map and she totally rolled with it for the whole session. I was definitely, I felt heard and listened to.
Awesome.
Through that time. How I'd like my partner to be more effective in future sessions. I think that for the session we had, I'm hard pressed. Again, I'm also hard pressed to think of how she could have done any better. I think she did extremely well. And I think as we learn more material, I think that's how we become better, more effective counselors.
Right.
How the environment affect your session? Well, you've kind of already gone through that, but essentially, Fred Meyer's kind of. Probably. I mean, it's not. Yeah, I mean, it was good for an encounter, for the initial encounter, but definitely won't be. Probably will be leaning away from Fred Meyer in the future.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. We don't have time to do report backs for everyone, and I want to make this exception. Was there anything that people felt like, hey, this was kind of weird, or any pressing issue that any of you have? Because this time for report backs is the only way that I have to see are people understanding the guidelines where we ask people not to be sexually explicit and not, those kind of things, all the big rules that we had in the beginning. And then I actually want to ask all of you to make the commitment to speak with me if something happens in your counseling session that you're uncomfortable with. Even if you're like, oh, it wasn't so bad. If it's something that you have to think of more than 2 or 3 times, I'd like you to just call me so that I can clear it up or counsel you about it or whatever. Can I have that commitment from each of you?
Yes.
Because in the very beginning, I don't want you to get deterred from using this counseling system or developing it as a tool for yourself because of something that happened. And then at the same time, I'd like us to all just be really super generous and kind with each other. Because this is a new kind of relationship that our culture doesn't have a precedent for outside of. Like this is cultural remediation. We're actually agreeing to hold someone that we're not in love with, that we're not in another kind of relationship with, as a precious jewel and a resource for our own recovery. And that just doesn't, right? We don't have a precedent for that. Yes, Daniel?
I might feel a little weird about that if I felt like I was violating somebody else's confidentiality.
Mm-hmm. So in order to have a peer exchange where there's no authority in the very beginning, the person with the most experience has to take on the responsibility of making sure that we're creating the right tone. Right? After you've learned it, it's totally fine for you to do whatever you want with it. But you can talk to me about what happened without talking about the material.
That's a clarification I need.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we're not sharing, and you'll notice in here I'm not saying, did the person's material trigger you and make it difficult for you to give them attention? I'm not saying the questions aren't, what was the content of the material? The questions are self-reflective. What did I say? Right? So if you feel uncomfortable about something that you did, or you feel uncomfortable about something the other person did, I'm asking you to see me as an authority and a resource to just check that out. So that then I'll go and find out what's going on, if it's something that's okay or not. Yes, Sapphire?
My tendency in the counseling that I've been a part of and have done,
Mm-hmm.
that somehow I'm feeling a missed step, which may be intentional for you,
Mm-hmm.
which is if I've got discomfort with our sharing,
Mm-hmm.
my tendency is going to want to be to share it there first.
Yes.
Because otherwise it feels like, oh, I'm going to tell teacher on you.
I do want you to talk to that person directly. However, if it's something that was given out in the guidelines, for example, something that's a form of oppression, something that seems to you to violate the ethical code that you agreed to use in the class, that is given in the introductory class, that's in Module 1, and I'd be glad to read it to people if they're not clear. I read it on the first class. Anything that seems to violate that, I need to know about it. Rather than have something start in the course where people are unconsciously, I'm just going to say generously, unconsciously, doing something that might be oppressive or painful, that might begin a pattern of distress in this group, I'm responsible for that.
Sure, understood.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that I still didn't quite get it? We speak to the person first, or we speak to you first?
Whenever possible, you should say, the moment that you know that you're uncomfortable or don't like something that happened, hey, that's not okay with me. And it would be great if we could use the counseling language we're learning. Wow, I'm feeling kind of knot of tension in my stomach. I feel like this is my turn to be a client and you're emoting more than I am. Or it seems like you're getting on this self-righteous thing where you're louder than I am as I'm telling you my distress. And that, I don't think that doesn't work for me. You, in a peer counseling system, it's your responsibility to use your inner authority to tell the person counseling you whether that's effective or not. But if you've already done that and the person continues to... Anyway, do you get it?
Sure,
Do you get it?
absolutely. Yeah.
Outline of CHPC sessions. What to do in a peer counseling session. You may wish to print out this document and bring it with you to your counseling sessions as a guide. Before you begin, establish order of trade. Decide who goes first as client and as counselor.
Who wants to go first in this little demo? Me?
Ground center COAL. Do a short grounding visualization. Add a short centering visualization and adopt the COAL attitude from Mindsight. Curiosity, openness, acceptance, and loving kindness. COAL.
So if we're going to ground, let's just take a deep breath. And for me now, if I say ground, it's pretty easy for me to go there. And my consciousness comes back and down. And then I say center, and I see that golden sun image. And I send roots down into the ground. I can feel that. Can you also do that?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Attune to each other. Make eye contact. Hold hands. Take 3 breaths together and image coming into harmony. You may tone, sound, or verbally resonate in some way.
And then let's hold hands and breathe together. Okay, so we're going to do that looking at each other with curiosity, openness, acceptance, and love. And we're going to remember the love barometer exercise we did in class 2, where we were like, oh, right, thinking of the thing that we love so that we can beam that energy and be present with that energy.
Invocation statement of intention. This is a statement of intention about why you are about to do this work, and a moment of remembering your essential self and a calling upon the divine, if that works for you. It can be anything brief. You can say a favorite invocation or whatever intention comes into your mind at the time. Suggestions. May our sharing create peace and healing. In harmony with the good of all. May we truly create a living love revolution. You can also tone or om or have a moment of silence together.
When we breathe, and we're going to lift our hands up to our hearts and breathe 3 times. Okay, and then let's put, if you put both of our thumbs to the left, are your thumbs to the left? Yeah, they are. See? Okay. And then we're going to, it makes a unicursal, it makes an infinity sign. Trust me, it's a little Wiccan thing.
Mm.
All right, so we're going to breathe in. And that breathing in and the holding your hands like that makes you get in sync with each other. One more time. Toward the one, may our counseling and clearing ourselves benefit all beings. So would it be.
Timekeeping. Set an alarm or consent to a timekeeping device and be clear on this before starting. Counselor and counselees then trade time following this outline.
Do 5 minutes each so I can at least get into some material. Does that work?
Sure.
Brina, do you have the time piece? Okay.
New and good. Share something pleasant that you experienced recently. Little upsets. Share small annoyances and problems that are mentioned briefly.
So, do you have any kind of little upsets or slight irritations that you'd like to work on?
Yes.
Tell me about them.
What do you want to work on? If you have a topic specifically in focus, work on that. Ask the client for the type of help they want today. If you have trouble, use scanning or telling your life story to bring up early core issues. Bragging is always useful in promoting catharsis.
But little upsets aren't the same as core material, but they can frequently lead you into, you can, by talking about la 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 la, oh wow, I'm really upset about that. Maybe I want to spend a whole 20 minutes on that. Maybe I want to, it's not going to hurt people to give them more time to talk about stuff. Let me ask you, this is, little upsets, or sometimes they're just small irritations, but other times you could do a whole session on it. Do you feel like you have enough upset about your work that might be what you want to focus on today?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Did you have anything else that you already had in your mind you wanted to work on, or is...
No, that's pretty
Okay,
much
go
it
for
right
it.
now.
So let's just go right into how do you feel in your body when you're thinking about your frustration.
Presencing, attention outs. Thinking and sensory awareness exercises that bring the client back to the here and now. Be sure to allow for 2 to 3 minutes of attention outs if the session is longer than 20 minutes each way.
Can you see 3 things that are blue in the room?
Blue. Yes, I can. Yes, this jean jacket that you have on, actually, that I saw you wear the other day, that I know has this beautiful embroidered dragon on the back
with
of it.
22 stars.
With 22
Oh my
stars.
God.
Yeah, right? There's blue in your blouse that you're wearing. There's also this blanket behind you that has blue petals.
Okay, and because it brought you so much relief, let's take a big breath together again, okay?
Okay.
Awesome.
Switch roles, ground, center, and separate between the sessions to begin again. Ending the session. Gratitude. Thank each other and say a word of appreciation and gratitude. If you are going to hug, be sure to get consent for touch first.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So
you
much.
express gratitude.
I
That's
very
awesome.
much appreciate you, your loving kindness, and to be here with me and really give me some good ways to feel things in my body.
Yeah,
You're beautiful.
thank you.
Make note. Each may also wish to take a few notes on their own session for report backs or to help focus on the patterns while they are fresh in your mind, and you can sustainably and consistently work on core patterns of distress.
And the reason that we want to take notes is that patterns actually make it extremely difficult to remember things. We don't remember it all the time. And the patterns that are chronic are running us all the time. We just think that's how we are. We just think that's how the world is. So it's helpful if you take notes for yourself so that you can remember, and you're capable of automatically generating an authentic response to this moment that's never happened before. So anything that's other than that is not the true reality. It's a pattern that you can counsel on and get help to integrate and unfold and resolve. Does that make sense? Thank you so much, Michael.
Sure.
Lovely, lovely, lovely.
Terry's, the resource this time was Terry's 20-minute visualization on sexual sovereignty, which was very interesting, very worth listening to. I highly recommend it. The larger part of it was more or less the grounding visualization, with the distinction that it's really being performed from the womb, which was an interesting experience for me to visualize.
And from this central place of your own generative force, your womb, your energetic womb, see a great light building, see a flame arising, a golden flame.
And that the cord that goes down into the center of the earth really comes from the womb and connects to the center of the earth in the usual grounding way. And the connection between the lower and the higher in the usual way. But when the energy is brought up from the center of the earth and brought back into our body, brought back through the womb and filling ourselves, she asks us to visualize this restoring our sense of sexual sovereignty, and goes on in a meditative mode that way for several minutes of how that energy restores our sense of our own power and our own sexual self-determination, and then closes more or less like a grounding visualization. So I found it a very intriguing and very very healing, and I would highly recommend to everybody to go on to the resource section in the Canvas site and check it out. It's a wonderful thing to experience.
The word Om has 4 syllables, that it sounds like this. Om. Can you try that? Now, did you notice that there's a shift in your energy when you do that? From before when you did it until when you're actually doing it. Can you feel that? Okay, so let's see what happens when we all hold hands and make that sound. Let's just keep doing it for a while until it reaches a peak, and let's go, okay? So tell me, we can sit down now, but tell me, a few people tell me, what does that feel like in your body?
I had an indelible impression of Allen Ginsberg. With him, that word is indelibly associated in my mind. Sitting in a field, long hair, flowers in his hair, grinning maniacally.
Awesome.
That's what Om does to me.
Allen Ginsberg, one of our fairy ancestors, one of our beat poet ancestors, someone who'd studied with Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. So that is the experience of resonance, right? That's a very fast way to get to resonance. And we're going to be talking about resonance as well as mirroring, appropriate affect, and attunement. Okay? So we're going to watch a video now, What Children Need for a Healthy Sense of Self by Sophia Emergi. So did anybody else have a mom that was not able to mirror, idealize, effectively attune? Raise your hand if that is true for you. Okay. I know that my mom kind of saved my life because she was able to at least intermittently praise me and be, very proud of me. And it really makes a difference. So really, in some ways, we are using these counseling sessions to reparent each other. And then that might sound like, oh, come on, like I'm 52, do I need a parent? But the fact is, and what she was saying in that video, and what child development, child psychology tells us, is if you do not have a healthy self-idea established, because those 4 things did not happen for you, there are parts of you that actually cannot mature and integrate. And you will not be able to evolve in certain areas in your life. Right? So I'm betting, by the fact that you agreed to come to a class like this, that you know there are things going on for you that might be missing, or you're aware that there are parts of you that are not as functional as you want them to be, or you haven't been able to have the relationship you think you're supposed to have, something like that. So one of the reasons that these counseling sessions are so precious is that we're actually going to stand in for each other as healthy parents and provide the kind of attention that we did not get then. And if we did get that kind of attention, we can become super integrated, I suppose. Or we can focus on different parts of our lives and find places where we were traumatized and where we've made up stories in order to survive, where we have armoring, and choose to focus all of the attention in your sessions on that one area of your life. So you can design this to benefit you in whatever way you feel you need the most benefit. We can't evolve and then give our love to non-human beings like trees and the planet. We can't give our fine healing attention to nature in the crisis that we've created as long as we are still narcissistically fractured. And it's actually insane for us to expect ourselves to have a living love revolution when we don't know how to love ourselves deeply, right? So remember, the definition of love has care, affection, respect, recognition. If your mirror is warped and fragmented, you will not be able to recognize other people because you do not recognize yourself. Does that all make sense to people? I'm going to pause for a minute and see if there's any questions. Just ask us to take a few breaths, be in our bodies, and see if anything has come up that wants to be spoken.
I have a big one.
Yes, Sam.
From the video, and I was unconsciously like doing this. I realized
I saw you
with
I
my
saw you.
head.
Yeah, you
I
were
was like
stretching your arm and your shoulder.
like rubbing my pectoral. But when you asked me what I felt in my body, I was like, nothing. I felt nothing in my body.
So
But
no.
I had a very specific memory. But I have a really difficult memory of I had a physical trauma that was an emotional and spiritual happening also, and just that 3-year-olds don't put up walls to be mean.
Right.
Right.
They're trying to
3-year-olds
survive
don't put up
something.
walls to be an asshole. They put up walls because they're trying to protect themselves. So, yeah, that's a big one. Thanks.
How was your shoulder?
Totally. My shoulder, it feels okay. Yeah. I didn't even feel pain while I was doing that. I just,
Right.
like, my body was like, I need to do this thing.
See how wise your body is, though?
It's
Isn't that
pretty
brilliant?
smart.
That's
Yeah.
a really great demo, Sam.
Yeah.
Of like listening to something, following your body telling you something, hitting a pattern of numbness, which is, we're going to learn about those in class 11. Control patterns. Whenever you feel the sensation of numb, nothing, or boredom, those are not actually feelings, they're control patterns. There's something that you did to dissociate yourself to survive a trauma. So anytime you feel bored, that's a great, in a session, to go follow that thread down that rabbit hole and find out what happened, what's the trauma that's underneath that. Thank you, that was really awesome. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you some more about the theory. This is in your assignments in Module 3. It says Ecosomatics Dyadic Mirroring. So I'm both going to talk to you about, in more depth, about the presencing and the mirroring, and then we're going to do a mirroring dyad. So the counselor's attitude, when we're grounding, centering, and adopting Cole, curious, open, attention, and loving, we have to do it to our own experience as well, right? To even be a counselor and provide that, we have to be grounded in ourselves, centered in ourselves, and curious, open, accepting, and loving about our own experience. Because if we're not able to do that internally, we can't actually offer that to someone else, right? So the first time you're like, all right, I'm going to a counseling session, and you'll start to go, all right, ground, center, coal. Remember those things, and hopefully by the time you get there, you'll be able to do that, right? Tapping into your own sixth sense or felt experience of your body is what's going to prepare you to do deep clienting. And tapping into mind sight, your awareness, okay, there's a process going on here, and it has steps. That's a kind of rational ladder of events that's keeping you tethered to your internal intelligence. And then we also use breath and visualization to establish a palpable connection to life force, right? In grounding, we do that. We affirm our connection to immanence, to something greater than ourselves. I keep using the image of golden light. You can use something else if you want, but since I've used that for so long, that's going to be my repeated example to you until it takes hold in you. And you can choose to use some other imagery for yourself that works better if you want. But I'm going to say something about that. That golden light, that immanence is the palpable, for me, sense of deity, right? And when we connect in the grounding, we're going down to the earth, we're actually calling upon something larger than our own energy body. And that is the thing that's awake. If you're, like what I believe in is animism and pantheism, that there's something greater than us that we're consciously tapping into. And that is the thing, the immanence, the God, Goddess, all that is causing this healing. Love. That's there, present. That's what's causing the healing. And I'm saying that because I want you to know it's not you. It is you, in that it is your larger ecological self. That you are a cell in the Gaiac body of the planet, right? In the same way that your fingers are made up of cells in the body of you. Right? So this kind of resonance, these images set up a hologram. You're going to think about that in your, thank you, prefrontal cortex. Thank you, sir. Sir with the big prefrontal cortex. And that's going to cause resonance for you. You're going to have a map in your mind of where we're going. That's why the visualizations are so helpful. That you can repeat. And what I'm offering you is a hologramic image of the universe that you can refer to over and over again, add to as you will, and deliver to other people. Does that make sense? Grounding provides the opportunity to presence. Daily grounding and meditation practice will grow new neural networks in you, right? Whereas before, the default is to be reactive. If you begin to ground every day and meditate every day, you will grow calm and connect circuitry in your body that reliably delivers oxytocin, and you will come to have the ability to choose whether you want to be in fight or flight reactivity or you want to be in calm and connectivity. And that's a big part of the goal. How often you ground has something to do with how long it takes for this new neural network to develop and get stable in you. Does that make sense? Does this all make sense out there?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So in Dan Siegel's The Mindful Therapist, which is another book that he's written besides Mindsight that I got because I want to be a good mindful therapist, he says, knowing your body strengthens your mind. Okay? So actually knowing how your body works strengthens your mind's ability to choose mindsight and to decide how you're going to develop. Another reason that I really recommend that book is he has 9 fields of integration. You can go through and see, where is it that I need to strengthen integration? Where is it that I'm fragmented and disassociated? And then you do visualizations and grounding and breath work and somatics like Nia, right? Like body-centered stuff like yoga. Those things grow those connections too very quickly, all right? Maps of the body and metamaps are connected to the presence of spindle cells. That's what's working in your mirror neurons, spindle cells, right? That exactly imitate what we're seeing. This is also what works when they show athletes training videos of people winning, and it sets you up. And also, the spindle cells in the prefrontal cortex are activated by what? By eye gazing. So how many people have been to some kind of tantra, quote-unquote, puja of some kind?
Yeah.
Okay, and what's the first exercise that you do? Eye gazing. Oh, it's called soul gazing. But when we're gazing into somebody else's eyes, we are, again, doing reparenting and mirroring that could have, should have, would have happened if we had a super conscious, super resourced mom that had all of her needs met. And good God, let's not start bashing our mothers. Because are women supported in this culture?
Not enough.
Okay. Are women given $2,000 a day for all the care that they give? No. You know, and until that happens, I'm not going to say anything, you know. I love my mother. I'm grateful for my mother. I love the Dalai Lama because whenever he speaks, he gives gratitude to his mother. And that's so precious to me. But the eye gazing gives you that reflected mirroring that you need. So you want to eye gaze in your sessions with people. And also this, let's see, to be truly receptive to another person's internal state, we need to be willing to relinquish control of our own identity and identify when reactive states are clouding our own vision and preventing us from attuning to another. Right? The introception, the felt experience skill, the sixth sense, is a crucial aspect of monitoring that opens the gateway to attunement with others. So if you're able to have your own felt experience of your body, it increases and deepens your ability to be empathic both with yourself and other people. See, these are very, very simple skills, but we're actually interrupted in their development, in our own development, right? Like, my best example is if you went to a public school, when you had to go to the bathroom, instead of being allowed to get up and go to the bathroom, you had to raise your hand or get permission. Like, this is the beginning of the loss of our internal authority. When we're in groups and we are prevented from acting on our own felt experience for our own internal needs. That's where it starts. This is the beginning of the oppression of children. And that's where we started to become numb and tell stories about our obedience or lack of obedience in order to survive in those environments, right? We can restore this, but it doesn't help to pretend it didn't happen. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. So attunement, again, according to Dan Siegel and the mindful therapist, the importance of mirror neurons cannot be overstated. Our bodies internally simulate the internal states of others. With attunement, we focus our signals from others and embed this flow of energy and information in our own experience, deeply into our nervous systems. We literally soak up what we sense inside of another, and that shapes how we can see the world. So this is very simple, but in our sessions, we're going to look into each other's eyes. We're going to breathe together. We're going to ground so that there's a neutral presence that we're providing, a witnessing that we're providing, that is completely, for a short period of time, angelically and divinely for the other person. And then we're going to switch. So this is, you know, it's a pretty radical concept. Right? We're going to completely put aside our needs for the other person for a while, and then they're going to exchange that. It's democratic, it's consensual, it's a good thing. And it's also a lot harder to do than I'm making it sound. Did you guys have that experience in your little 15-minute sessions? Did you feel like, oh, I want to fix this for them, or I know just what to say, or maybe they need this, right? The best thing to do is just kind of have confidence in the person, give them really good eye attention, radiate loving calm, and not say so much. Not say so much in the beginning. Okay, so we arrive at attunement in our sessions by sharing breath, holding hands, and making gentle, steady eye contact. Sometimes when I try to teach people the eye gazing, they stare, you know, they get really relaxed. Gentle eyes. Right?
Don't try to suck their soul out.
Now resonance. Resonance. What causes resonance? You guys know what causes resonance? Not just like when we breathe and we did the oming, that sound. It sounds the same when you ring a bowl. You know, I have a Tibetan singing bowl that I love. You establish pair bonding behavior. We create oxytocin loops, and this is the ideal state for the development of new neural networks. How much do you guys know about oxytocin? Sam, you can help me, I think, a little with this.
What do you want
Oxytocin is at its highest, most saturated point in human beings when a mother's giving birth. Unless it's artificially interrupted by the administration of Pitocin from a medicalized birth, right?
Yep.
Since many of us, the age that we are, had medicalized birth, we got a lower set point for the amount of oxytocin that was supposed to be in our bodies. This is why we're not automatically calm and connect. Why don't I just have calm and connect ability? It got medicalized out of us. I'm not trying to cause more trauma. But what is generated in our bodies with the eye gazing, with breastfeeding, with sexual activity, with romantic activity, is oxytocin and a little serotonin. Sometimes some dopamine, which you crash from later on. We're going to generate, this is why we have that injunction against don't start romantic relationships with the people that you just met in class, because it's going to be to you, oh, this seems like the next step. Awesome. There's so much love here. I just want some more of that. And so we're careful with it. We're careful with it. And I would caution you in the beginning of your new sexual relationships, when you do have them, to hold out for a while and start with cuddling and petting before you go right into the intercourse thing, because that just gets everything, oh, you really are crazy for a while. Sam?
Oxytocin has similar effects to heroin and addictive qualities.
Mm-hmm.
So.
There you go.
So
It
be
feels really
mindful. You stimulate oxytocin.
It's some powerful
eye
stuff.
Contact, there's all sorts of things.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So we will be generating oxytocin, and we do want to have nice touch. The good things about oxytocin are courage arises with the presence of oxytocin. You feel like I can do anything. And also, it is much easier to learn and grow new neural networks in the presence of oxytocin. So this is why we're all like, hey, snuggling and cuddling, that's a very important part of the Living Love Revolution. As long as we've established consent and we stay with the verbal consent as a default, then we're going to be safe. You want to have sessions where you're holding each other, you know, where you're gently, can I do this? You know, petting each other and saying, you are the most wonderful girl ever. You're the most amazing woman I've ever met. I only deliver those things if you can say them authentically. The other person will know if it's not authentic. But if you can say those things authentic, isn't that what we do in the angel walk? Isn't that what we do in the sexual therapeutic work that we do in temples? It is. It's the same thing. Okay. Now, how does integration occur? Oh, I'm just looking, it's 9:52, and that's not enough time to do the mirroring, so I'm going to shut up. And you can you do a little mirroring with each other? It's so important. Okay. How can we do it just close to the person that we're close to? Just take a few, let's just do 1 minute each of gazing mutually into each other's eyes. Does that make sense? You guys do that? I'm coming to it with Marky. Stay there. And just notice what happens in your body. Does your breathing change? Does your feeling state change?
I think we synchronized.
Right?
Okay.
You do. You start to breathe at the same breath. You start to lean into each other. There's a softening of armoring. Okay. So the last little piece that I have to say on there is that resonance that develops through eye gazing and mirroring. Resonance creates a window of tolerance, which in Holistic Peer Counseling we also call a balance of attention. When resonance is present, you can move back and forth from a state of reactivity and trauma from the past, collect a piece to work on, and then move back into the mind sight and with the witnessing of the other person, begin to unravel these things so they can be integrated, your nervous system can be restored, or you can grow new neural networks. So thank you very much for all your kind attention.
The Gothic cathedrals were meant to be seen. They remained in the villages that built them, there to inspire religious awe in generations to come. So too with the pyramids, which have survived for millennia. SAS-1, however, was built to be thrown away. Once declared perfect, it would never be seen again. It would be launched, briefly used, and then burned up upon re-entry when its orbit degraded several years later. A strange intent for such a work of art.